The rain pounded the pavement outside Chicago's Union Station, turning the streets into a shimmering mess of brake lights and blaring horns. It was a chilly October evening in 2027, and the air inside the station carried the damp, gritty smell of wet stone and too many people packed too close. Among them was Ellie Harper, a 22-year-old college student who'd been grinding through life like it was a second job. She was juggling 2 part-time gigs, a full course load at DePaul University, and the responsibility of raising her 16-year-old sister, Nora, since their parents died in a car crash 3 years ago. Ellie's dark hair clung to her face, soaked from the sprint through the downpour, her worn jacket dotted with coffee stains, and her backpack heavy with library books. She scanned the crowd, her heart racing. Her brother, Caleb, was supposed to be back from his 18-month deployment today. Then she saw Heimer thought she did. A tall figure in a navy overcoat, broad shoulders, dark hair. Without thinking, she rushed forward, threw her arms around him, and pressed her face into his back. "You're finally home," she whispered, voice thick with relief. The station didn't just quiet, it froze. A hush rippled through the crowd like a held breath. A mother yanked her kid close. A street musician's guitar fell silent. Ellie's arms tightened for a split second before she felt it. The man wasn't hugging her back. His body was rigid, not warm with recognition but coiled, like a predator sizing up a threat. She pulled back, and her stomach dropped. This wasn't Caleb. The man's face was sharp, unyielding, carved from shadow and stone. His dark eyes locked onto hers, unreadable but piercing. Behind him, 2 men in suits, bodyguards, she realized, had hands poised near their jackets, ready to act. The crowd parted around them, instinctively sensing danger. Ellie's face burned as she stumbled back, her voice barely a whisper. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my brother." The man didn't move, didn't blink. But then, impossibly, the corner of his mouth twitched, a ghost of a smile, like sunlight breaking through a storm cloud. "Honest mistake," he said, his voice low, rough, like gravel under boots. "No harm done." Ellie's eyes darted past him to where Caleb, her actual brother, was being swarmed by their aunt and uncle, his army duffel slung over his shoulder. "I'm such an idiot," she stammered, backing away. "I saw the code, and I'm so sorry." She turned, practically running toward the platform where Caleb stood, her cheeks flaming with embarrassment. But as she disappeared into the crowd, she didn't see the man watching her go, his smile lingering, foreign on a face that hadn't known warmth in years. His name was Vincent Rossi, the most feared crime lord in Chicago. At 38, he'd built an empire from the ashes of South Side streets, clawing his way to the top of the Rossi crime family. He didn't do train stations, not since he'd traded corner hustles for penthouse suites and a network of businesses, some legal, most not. But tonight, a botched deal in the Loop had left his driver stuck in traffic 10 blocks away, and Union Station was the quickest escape. Vincent moved through the crowd like a blade through silk, his tailored wool coat pristine, his expression cold as the steel in his pocket. His bodyguards, Luca and Dom, flanked him, their eyes scanning for threats. People stepped aside without knowing why, sensing the weight of his presence. Luca murmured into an earpiece, "Car's 2 minutes out, boss." Vincent didn't reply, his mind replaying the deal with the Mancini family. They'd pushed for control of the West Side docks. He'd pushed back hard. The tension would simmer for weeks. Then it happened. The hug, arms around his waist, a face pressed against his back, a voice so soft and raw it cut through his defenses. "You're finally home." For 5 seconds, Vincent Rossi, untouchable, felt something he hadn't in years: warmth. Not the calculated loyalty of his men, not the fleeting thrill of power, but something human. His hand twitched toward the gun at his hip, instinct screaming threat, but the trembling in her arms wasn't fear or malice, it was joy. He raised a hand, palm out, signaling Luca and Dom to stand down. The crowd held its breath, waiting for blood that didn't come. When he turned, he saw her, young, soaked, her brown eyes wide with horror as she realized her mistake. She babbled apologies, backing away, and vanished into the crowd. Vincent watched her go, his heart beating faster than it had during the Mancini meeting. Luca broke the silence. "Boss, should we?" "No." Vincent cut him off, smoothing his coat. "It was an accident." But as he said it, He knew it wasn't just an accident. Not for him. In his Lakeshore Drive penthouse that night, Vincent stood at floor-to-ceiling windows, a glass of bourbon untouched in his hand. The city glittered below, a maze of light and shadow, but his mind was on her. That hug, uncalculated, unguarded, had cracked something inside him, a wall he'd built over decades of betrayal and blood. His consigliere, Nico, stepped off the private elevator, his footsteps soft on the marble. "You're brooding," Nico said, pouring himself a drink. "Luca called. Said some girl hugged you at the station, and you let her walk away. That's not you." Vincent's jaw tightened. "She thought I was someone else. A mistake. Mistakes get people killed in our world," Nico said, his voice calm but edged. "She touched you in public. That's a risk." "She's not a risk," Vincent snapped, sharper than he meant. "She's nobody. Just a kid." Nico's eyes narrowed, catching the lie. "Then why are we talking about her?" Vincent didn't answer. He couldn't. Because he couldn't forget the way she'd held him, like he was something precious, not a monster. "Find out who she is," he said quietly. "Name, address, everything. But do it quietly. No one approaches her. No one scares her." Nico sighed but nodded. "You're playing with fire, boss." Vincent drained his bourbon in one swallow, the burn grounding him. Dangerous? Yes. But he'd built an empire on dangerous choices. What was one more? By morning, Luca delivered a folder to Vincent's office, a sleek room overlooking Lake Michigan. "Fast work," Vincent said, flipping it open. A student ID photo stared back at him. Ellie Harper, DePaul University, junior, education major. Her smile was unguarded, eyes crinkling with warmth that didn't know how to fake it. "She's clean," Lucas said, almost reluctantly. "Painfully clean. Works 2 jobs, bookstore clerk at the Bookhaven, $14 an hour, and night cleaner at Mama's Diner, $15. Legal guardian to her sister, Nora, since their parents died in a crash on I-94. No criminal record, no connections to our world. Lives in a rough part of Englewood. $900 in her bank account, 3 weeks behind on utilities, dodging medical debt from her mom's hospital stay." Vincent's fingers paused on the page. Medical debt, $5,200. He'd spent more on a single dinner. She was drowning over pocket change. "What do you want us to do?" Luca asked. Vincent closed the folder. "Nothing. Yet." But Vincent couldn't do nothing. That night, he was at Union Station again, not by chance. Ellie's schedule, pieced together from Luca's report, had her passing through at 8:45 p.m., catching a train to Englewood after her bookstore shift. He sat on a bench, dressed down in jeans and a black jacket, no bodyguards, blending into the crowd. She hurried past, backpack bouncing, exhaustion in her posture but a faint smile on her lips. He watched her board her train, safe, and told himself that was enough. It wasn't. The next day, he called the utility company, posing as her uncle, to pay her $312 electric bill through an untraceable third-party system. Then he leaned on the superintendent of her building, a guy with a gambling debt to accrue in Cicero, to fix her broken heater. Building maintenance. The super would say, no cost to her. Vincent felt a quiet thrill, not from power, but from easing her burden. By day 5, he'd gone further. When a drunk stumbled too close to Ellie at the station, slurring and grabbing her arm, Luca and Dom materialized like shadows, escorting the man away before he could blink. Ellie didn't notice, too focused on her worn paperback, but Vincent saw the fear in her eyes before it faded. He told himself he was just balancing the scales of a cruel world. But Nico's words echoed. "You're not just protecting her. You're getting involved." Vincent ignored him, arranging for Ellie's diner manager, a creep who shorted her hours to be fired after an anonymous tip to the owner, Mama Rosa, revealed his theft. Ellie got a morning shift, better hours, safer commute. Each move was a thread tying him closer to her, and he couldn't stop pulling. Ellie wasn't blind. Good luck didn't come in waves, not in her world. When her electric bill zeroed out, she chalked it up to a glitch. When the heater hummed to life after months of complaints, she raised an eyebrow. When loan sharks hounding her over her mom's medical debt vanished, her stomach twisted. By day 10, she sat in the DePaul library, scribbling a list. Utilities paid. How? Heater fixed. Why now? Loan sharks gone. Debt handled. Manager fired. Morning shift offered. Too many coincidences. Someone was pulling strings, and she had a sinking feeling who. That night, she lingered outside the bookstore, spotting Luca and Dom across the street, too polished for Englewood, talking into wrist mics. She followed them to a coffee shop, where a black sedan pulled up. The window rolled down, and there he was, the man from the station, the one she'd hugged. Vincent. Not just a businessman, not just Alex, as he'd introduced himself during a train delay when they'd talked for 20 minutes, laughing like old friends. He was something else. Something dangerous. Fury burned through her exhaustion. She'd Googled him. Vincent Rossi. Vague articles about real estate and construction hinted at a darker truth. At 8:47 p.m., she waited at Union Station, knowing he'd show. When his car pulled up and he stepped out in a suit that screamed money, she marched forward, blocking his path. Why are you doing this? Her voice was steel, trembling with anger. The bills, the job, the loan sharks, it's you, isn't it? Vincent's face stayed calm, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of surprise. Ellie, I don't lie. I saw your men following me. I saw them reporting to you. You've been playing God with my life. The bodyguards tensed, but Vincent waved them off. I was trying to help, he said, voice low. Help, she spat. You think I'm some charity case? I've been taking care of myself and Nora for 3 years. I didn't ask for your money or your pity. Her voice cracked, tears threatening. You had no right to make me think things were getting better when it was all you. Vincent opened his mouth, then closed it. What could he say? That her hug had undone him? That he'd watched her struggle and couldn't stand it? I'm sorry, he said finally. Leave me alone, she hissed, turning away, her words slicing through him. I mean it. For 3 days, Vincent stayed away, brooding in his penthouse, the city's glow mocking him. Nico warned him again, you're distracted. In our world, that's death. But Vincent couldn't forget her, not the hurt in her eyes, not the way she'd stood up to him. Meanwhile, across town, Dominic Mancini, head of a rival family, saw opportunity. His spies had caught Vincent at the station, night after night, watching a nobody college girl. Photos showed him arguing with her, his face raw with emotion, a crack in the untouchable Rossi armor. He's slipping, Dominic told his underboss Carlo. We hit him where he's weak. Her. They planned to strike at Union Station during Friday's rush hour, 6:15 p.m., when Ellie's finals ended, and she'd likely return to her usual route. For shooters, dressed as commuters, would blend into the crowd, make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Vincent and Ellie, both dead in the chaos. A distracted boss is a dead boss, Dominic said, smiling coldly. At 6:13 p.m., Union Station was a pressure cooker, commuters shoving, voices overlapping, the air thick with tension. Ellie stood by a pillar, earbuds in, scrolling her phone, relieved to be done with exams. She didn't see the men closing in, 2 on the platform, 2 at the exits. Vincent arrived at 6:14, against Luca's protests, just to see her safe one last time. He spotted her immediately, her backpack slung low, a faint smile on her lips. He should leave. He didn't. Then it happened. A shot cracked through the station. Screams erupted. A purse exploded. Glass shattered. Vincent pivoted for cover, hand on his gun, but Luca was faster, engaging the first shooter. Ellie froze, earbuds falling, eyes wide with terror. Behind her, a man in a suit raised a pistol at Vincent's back. Time slowed. Vincent was drawing, but he'd be too late. Ellie saw the gun, saw Vincent, and moved without thinking. She crashed into him, knocking him into a trash bin as the bullet sparked off the concrete where his head had been. Stay down. Vincent roared, shielding her with his body. Luca's gun barked, dropping one shooter. Dom took out another with surgical precision. The third fired wildly, then fled, wounded. The fourth, pinned by Luca, went limp under a gun to his spine. Sirens wailed as Vincent pulled Ellie up. Are you hurt? He demanded, hands checking for blood. No, she gasped, shaking. What? What was that? We need to go, he said, urgency cutting through his calm. Those men were here for me, and now you're a target because you saved me. Her eyes searched his, piecing it together. You're not a businessman. No, he admitted. I'm Vincent Rossi, head of the Rossi crime family. And those men wanted me dead because I care about you. Her breath hitched. Do I matter to you? Yes, he said, raw and unfiltered. That's the problem. In a Westchester safe house, Ellie sat wrapped in a blanket, a cold mug of tea on the table. Vincent stood by the window, watching the dark, while Luca and Dom guarded the exits. Nico worked the phones, managing the fallout. Silence stretched until Ellie broke it. My sister. I need to call Nora. Handled, Vincent said. Nico told her you're helping a friend. She's fine. Ellie's hands tightened. You had a stranger call my sister? Would you rather she worried? Ellie glared, then softened, exhaustion winning. What happened tonight? Vincent sat across from her, elbows on his knees. You saved my life because you're good. You act on instinct. Me? I'm a criminal. I run Chicago's underworld. I've done things that'd make you sick. But when you hugged me, I felt human for the first time in years. Ellie stared, processing. So you paid my bills, fixed my life, because of a hug. Because you're good, he said. And I couldn't let the world crush that. She laughed, bitter and shaky. You could have just asked me out. I'm not normal, Ellie. Normal men don't have enemies who shoot up stations. She stood, pacing. I should hate you. You lied, manipulated me. You're right, he said. I took your choices away. But I couldn't watch you drown. Tears fell, and she didn't wipe them. Those Monty'd have killed me because of you. Yes, he admitted. And I'll spend my life making sure that never happens again. Ellie paused, looking at him, really looking. Beneath the danger, she saw a man who'd forgotten how to feel until she'd reminded him. I need time, she said. Take it, he replied. You're safe. Decide what you want, me in your life, or me gone. But you're not alone anymore. You matter to me. 3 weeks later, Dominic Mancini's empire was ashes. Anonymous tips led to FBI raids, IRS audits, and arrests. Dominic landed in prison, knowing it was safer than facing Vincent's wrath. Ellie returned home, her debts cleared through legitimate scholarships, no strings attached. Vincent kept his distance, as promised. But Ellie couldn't stop thinking about him the way he'd shielded her, the honesty in his confession, the man behind the monster. One rainy Friday, she went to Union Station at 8:45 p.m., scanning the crowd. Vincent was there, alone, hands in his pockets, watching the rain. Their eyes met, and she walked to him, heart pounding. I've been coming here every Friday, she said, hoping you'd show. I was giving you space, he replied, voice rough. She stepped closer. You were wrong to control my life. But you were right, I needed help. And you saw me when I couldn't see myself. She hugged him, deliberate this time, her face against his chest. Welcome home, she whispered. Vincent's arms closed around her, careful, like holding something sacred. For the first time in years, he felt anchored not to power, but to her. So what do you think? Was Ellie right to forgive Vincent, knowing his world could destroy her? Should Vincent have walked away to protect her, or was his love worth the risk? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if this story got your heart racing, and subscribe for more tales where love and danger collide. What would you do if a single mistake changed your life forever?